G'day, mate. How you doing? Can you hear me? Have we got a good... Sorry. Hold on. Let me get this right. Okay, good. That's exact. How are you doing, mate? Can you hear me?
Yes, mate. I feel great.
Oh,
up to you.
Oh, it's pretty... Well, everybody must get used to our recordedness and for thousands of years to come, but we only ever do a program once, don't we? And I'm in Los Angeles. We just arrived at Santa Ana Station, and so we're sitting underneath a tree in the park. Union Park. Is that right? Union Station. Yeah. So what's up today, mate?
I tell you, I really haven't eaten much. Doing your omega formula to try and shrink my waist.
Oh wow!
I did liver flush on Sunday. I've probably done close to 50 flushes. I still got stones out. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't that so amazing? The vast majority of people who are cleansing, they can have not yet cleared out of their bile occlusion or bile stones, and it's so amazing. But I mentioned the fact that most people are going through all these programs, like Hippocrates and all these places, and they all come out with all their bile stones still intact, and they don't have better liver function. They don't have better liver function at all, and they don't get rid of any bile stones either. So this is really a wave of the future. If anybody's listening, of course, bile occlusion and getting rid of your bile stones and doing we call upstream cleaning. But the vast majority of the programs in the country are very downstream. They're called downstream cleaning. Are you there, Lukey?
Yes, mate.
Alzheimer's. A lot of people really love to be able to keep their brain, and most people don't, do they? Alzheimer's strikes 50% of all the people who reach 85 years of age. It's most people really over the age of 85. If they reach that age, they have Alzheimer's, a lot of them, But Alzheimer's really striking younger ones ever more today, It's amazing to me what the reason would be why a parent, except, of course, parents are wage slaves, aren't they? But isn't it amazing that children, as soon as they go to school, they test really high for cortisol in their saliva, which before the moment of going to school, they didn't really have any cortisol much in their saliva. But the moment these school kids are at school, studies show that they have cortisol in their saliva. Cortisol probably is one of the major substances, of course, which is released by stress. Children who have cortisol in their saliva are stressed. And, of course, cortisol robs any sugar from the brain, and it robs it all from 16,000 advertisements that the average person views every day. Those advertisements and things, but a lot of cortisol is being released. you've got stress really that inhibits blood flow to the septal region of the brain. So vast majority of these people that are eating food stuffs which have the high glycemic rate and runaway sugar, and then kids are sent to the school, these school systems which McDonaldize their brains, and cortisol having extra cortisol more than what you should really, having adrenocorticotropic hormone, having adrenaline not broken down properly, so you have adrenochrome, which is worse than LSD, and all these stress substances are released and it's right there in children's saliva. Another quite alarming observation is serotonin and dopamine not being in the proper access for these kids. So if it's not going to be there when you're a child, how's it going to be there when you're an adult? And why don't people care about children? Why is it fine if you're a parent, you know your kid's going to be stressed out in these factoryized sort of, I'd say, fascist, Marxist sort of schools. But I guess, being red or purple, the football scores, the Grammys, and, what the royal family and then certain television personalities are doing is extremely important to most people. And the idea that their children are stressed out and stuff, what conversation you have with anybody about this? But go ahead and have a look. Open source. Check it out. Saliva and cortisol in children's saliva. But the brain is receiving 25% of all the energy from a heart. And if you've got gut problems, with lots of people have, because they're primarily on dead food, and nobody could tell me that dead food is better than live food. But it is amazing that people looking after my kid want him to definitely have dead food, and they've taken it away from me because I recommend that children eat food which has more life in it, live food, and they don't eat these runaway sugars and strange undigestible proteins and things, But a lot of adults have B vitamin deficiencies, and they're forgetting, where they were going to go. They forget what they were going to say, and without B vitamin, and we've got B vitamin deficiency, which you could be living primarily on a diet of soggy cardboard, which is really made to taste nice. So nice, matter of fact, that you're addicted, and you've got to have it. You know what I mean? You've got to have that Doritos. You've got to have that cheese. You must, and the mouth waters like crazy unless you have it, and people are addicted, and children are addicted to those foods as well. Microphone keeps slipping up a little bit. Is our sound been okay today, mate?
I hear you loud and clear, Doc.
Oh, that's so amazing. I'm so glad. Yeah. Anyway, of course, people really do suffer from thyroid problems, and it's really unbelievable. But consequence is really not so excellent as you really incur all dysbiotic life colloid in your intestinal tract, which a lot of people have, don't they? They have all these endotoxins. When they defecate, what you're defecating really is of any stench at all. Typically, that is bacteria in the intestine, which is really dysbiotic. But there's an enormous result of poison administered, and dysbiotic life colloid corpses because people then give antibiotics and stuff, and it's sort of got a bit of a die-off of all life colloid. You get a lot of die-off life colloid corpse and things, and you have a reaction like what's called a Herx reaction because cleansing can be not occurring like it should. But you've got to clean through your bowel. You've got to have a poop, and you've got to poop and poop and poop a bit more, and that cleansing is really pooping, and cleansing really is causing your liver to function and bile to flow. And if you're just juicing it up, with wheatgrass juice, and you haven't really heard about live food, it's very popular for people to talk about people who are dead and their work, but when someone's alive, like my work, live food, it really is unique. And it's not living food, and it's certainly not raw food, all right? But to have live food, it is in its uncooked state, and it certainly is living food, but it is life force, you see. A bean and a grain, which is living food, is a grain, and if you sprout it, it is living food. If you didn't sprout it, you could say it's raw food, because you could be eating just anything as long as it's unprocessed. You could say it's raw, so even raw dog poop. But a lot of things just could be raw, like a raw telegraph pole, and living food is certainly not raw flesh. If you're raw fooders, they eat anything raw, like even thyroid extract and all sorts of things, as long as it's raw. So raw is like a word like war spelt backwards, and raw, it doesn't really, it's not vegetarian. So when someone says they're raw food, that is not vegetarian. That's the people in Europe, they love raw horse's flesh and stuff, So if you're raw food, raw flesh, that is not good, right? Anne did not call what she did raw food. Couldn't stand it. She called what she does living food. And the reason why she called it living food is because people in the raw food movement were eating raw flesh, which she didn't agree with at all, and they were just like chowing down on unsprouted bean and grain, like a family of people that took off and started eating food like that and caused people to fart like crazy, because it just tanks you. And then you end up like a bare barrel, really like a big apple shape, and then you've got spindly little legs underneath you, and that's how people end up eating that dead food. But anyway, they got people eating raw grain and raw bean, which is raw food. It's not living food. They learned a bit about Anne Wigmore's work and realized they must sprout the grain and the bean. And so you've got living food, and you must sprout grains and beans if you're doing living food, right? And that's what that means. And that is the definition of it. Whereas the definition of live food is food which is vegetarian. It has its life force intact, meaning it has to be able to reproduce itself in nature. It has to have its natural passifrons. It can't have any runaway sugar like carrot juice does. And it can't really have any strange, undigestible protein like a cashew does. And people, they love to give you the cashew. They love it. Why? Because they've never learned how to make a cream without it. How's that? Woo-hoo! And they don't know how to make cheeses or anything. But I sort of not taught anybody how to make the cheese or the cream without cashew, you see. So they just do cashew. My chefs at Life Food, as we had the shop in New York, we taught our chefs how to make great cheeses, great milks and things. But, you know, the authorities didn't give a crap about me. And then people also, like in the alternative movement, thought I was a bit of a threat, you know, like people who dote after Donna Karen and people, you know, and then, you know, so I just thought I was being marginalised. So why be somewhere where your work is just marginalised, you know what I mean? And then I guess there was like a bloke, Mark Becker, I think his name is or something, and he got above me so that he would decide who would be on a panel and who wouldn't be and things. I've been afraid to get underneath anyone like a dumb as beetle person like that anymore, you know what I mean? So I've just decided I just don't want to be underneath any of these idiots. Yeah. So anyway, live food is definitely not raw food, absolutely not. And living food certainly is not live food. They are all well and truly below live food, you know, yeah, and in their definitions, see. So I just don't want my work to come underneath anybody that says, oh, your work fits into raw food. It does not. Or somebody else says, oh, your food fits into living food. It absolutely does not. But anyway, Anne's dead, and it's really great for people to say they're doing living food because she's dead, no threat, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but one day when I'm dead, the work will really, really be good, you know what I mean? And even little scratchings on paper may be worth something. But when you're alive, you know, in your work that you do, it's sort of really unique and different. You get a lot of political sort of flack and competition and things, you see. Yeah. So, you know, things have happened to me in the profession of food, especially live food, where, for instance, the gathering in Sedona, a woman who runs that, and she made sure that I was definitely cut out of that gathering. And then there was another male teacher who educates people as a live foodarian, and as a frugivore, and they cut him out too because the leaders of the movement, I don't know who they are, but that might have been the people that were the keynote speakers of those gathering in Sedona, has told everybody in the world stop eating fruit, you know, and they've got people at some ranch and they're just chowing down on leaves, you know, and they did a documentary, and it's green this, green that, green this, green that, green this, green that. They're morons. They think people are cows. They think human beings are grass and leaf eaters, and that grass and leaf eating will be the answer for diabetes. I think they're morons, mate. Serious morons, you know what I mean? They made a documentary, and they've got me making milk in it. I was really, really concerned that they really wouldn't tell you some of the stuff that they interviewed me with. But I was basically saying that what they've said in their show, getting people to eat all this green stuff, is just crazy. And I explained that the green stuff has a lot of cadmium excess. I told people they have a lot of lactucarium, which is a opiate and causes people to go to sleep when they eat a lot of green. I also said in that program, in that interview, the vast majority of people in the movement, they never studied a day of botany in their life, mate. They don't even know what a fruit is, you know? So it's funny. It's really funny, you know? But it was really funny to me to hear these leaders of the movement tell everybody that you better not eat any more food. And then they get this video out there, and they've got these drongos, chowing down on green and drinking green juices. And, of course, their diabetes is going to reduce for a little while. But certainly, if you follow what's happened to every single one of those people, you're going to see that not a single one of them got rid of any bile stones, you know. So I guess, people are setting themselves up to be above others. But, the information about bile occlusion, what are you going to do with that? Just dismiss it, eh? But every single person that I know, most of these people have bile occlusions, mate, and they definitely do have liver problems. They do need to learn about upstream cleaning, and most of these people are foisting downstream cleaning on people, you know. There was a bloke who wrote a book, a doctor from some South American country, like a heart specialist or something, and he got in there with Donna Karen or something, but he wrote a book or something clear or something, and it's an absolute moronic work because he's got people just eating pharmaceutical junk, in his product, and let's see, what else? He's got radiolytic glass-like material, psyllium husk in his stuff, and he doesn't care about you, and most of these people don't. They just want to put junk in your stuff, you know what I mean, and go along with others because they might be getting a buck somewhere. Yeah. So, but I've just got to tell you straight up what's going on. Listen to the shows. I'm just telling you straight up what's going on, all right? I've just got to do it, and I'm sorry, but it's got to be reality. I can't stand things which is not reality. Does that make sense, Lukey?
Yeah, mate.
Thanks, mate. I'm glad for that. It's so refreshing to connect with people who really do have a bit of a care, But I really can't stand all this super this and super that and super this and super that. Most of these people are the biggest morons in the world, foisting rock salt on people. They have no idea. Foisting all this super green this and super green that. Have a look in their product. They've got the cheapest green they could ever get, and they've put it in there. Go and have a look. You'll see it. It's all there. But they don't tell you that high phosphate food is a poison, and that's going to kill you. And the vast majority of food they have is just very high phosphate, low calcium. They find a bit of calcium in there. It might have a nice number of calcium, but it might have a lot of acid in there, and you've got a negative calcium ratio overall. How are we doing for time, Lukey?
We're good. We got just under 15 minutes.
Well, anyway, the biological consequences for people that are doing raw food, living food, it's not good. Nor is it good for anybody doing dead food. Should learn what live food is, and get rid of all the dead food endotoxins and stuff and your runaway sugars. But why don't we have some of these banana benders connect with us, mate? Like the banana benders that do their little TV shows from the forest. And then people who try to run all over David Wolf, for instance. There was somebody trying to run all over David Wolf, and he was the biggest moron, that bloke. I don't know what the hell his name is, but he sort of rides bicycles like crazy, and he wants everybody to eat 30 bananas a day. He's the biggest moron I've ever met or heard of in my life, and then apparently was getting on David Wolf's case. I reckon David's a nice bloke, you know what I mean? And he's closest to live food than most of these other people in the movement. They don't teach anything about live food. At least David does, you know, and a lot of what he's speaking about is more of the truth than a lot of the others. And Viktoras Kulvinskas, he's amazing, and he's a really amazing person. But the vast majority of the other people in the movement, I've got to tell you, they're drongos, morons, and especially the bloke, you know, that's riding the bicycle and then does his 30 bananas. He's a dumb as beetle person, all right? I wonder if it's possible for anybody who's listening to get the message to these people that I personally feel their message itself sucks. It sucks like McDonaldizing the world, you know, with school and things, you know. But anyway, whoever that bloke is, I don't know. I wish I knew some of these people's names. But there is a bloke, you know, and he sort of comes from the rainforest or something, and everything he does is just like, buy this, buy that. But then he got a bit of fame, I think, because he tagged on to David Wolf, I heard, and then got a bit of fame sort of like that. But I listened to actually something he said. I've asked people to tell me what he said, and most people have said he's an absolute, you know, he's as dumb as a beetle, all right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, how can we, I wish we could get the message out there a bit, you know, about live food. Certainly, I've never cared for anybody around me to use the word raw food. No one has. I don't care for anybody to use the word living food around me. No one has. But what's the reason for that? I mean, I've been educating people about live food, and I'm just keeping going with that. I'm educating people about whole brain functioning. It's way beyond neurolinguistics. Most people in the field of neurolinguistics have never studied a day in their life about the vestibular system or anything like this, you know. But if you're doing subliminals, you're doing communication theory, you should be learned more about whole brain functioning, you know. But anyway, it's really funny. Some people have told me they went to the comments of the very last show that we did with, let's see, Prude Holmes. Is it Timothy Prude Holmes? No. Oh, I can't remember. No. What was the show? OneRadioNetwork.com. Oh, Tim Pony, thank you. People have gone and they've checked out the what people have said. You know, it was the very last show I did with him. But I'm so glad it was the last show I ever did with him, you know, because he's just foisting, you know, testicles and thyroid extract and, you know, steak and dairy and some made-up Factor X. He's a fraud. He's a serious fraud, and those people are fraudulent, all right? I'm so glad I'm not doing anything. But if you look at some of the comments that people made, you know, I'm so glad I'm not there with that anymore, you know. How bad is it when you do something and somebody's bought you, you know? I can't stand that myself, you know. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah,
but anyway,
excuse me.
It's amazing. It's incredible, you know. But it's time really is of a birth of I am. That's really where we are, and this is really a beautiful beginning of everything, you know. And it's amazing. I got on the train today, and I've just sort of really been on the go. I really care very much for us to be able to have good shows and things, you know, as we go. It's amazing that we have an ultradian cycle which really occurs right throughout the whole of the day. And you've got moments during the day where things occur and moments where they don't. And there's a reason why we do a gallbladder flush and we bring in the oil around about 2:30 p.m. And there's a bloke who lived in New York City, and I'm doing gallbladder flushing and helping people recognize this. Not anyone hardly in America has done anything about this. I'm there for many, 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 many years. This bloke lives about 4 blocks away from me. He writes a book about gallbladder flushing and doesn't even mention my name. How's that, eh? Where's that? Funny, isn't it? You know, but there was a bloke who went out with Annie in Hawaii. He took all the work Annie did, and then said he actually got it from Ann Wigmore. What a bull duster! He lived downstairs from us. He didn't know nothing, jack nothing, you know, until he really got it from us in New York City. You know. But anyway, I'm caring very much for people to know that I do live food. I do not do raw food. I do not do living food. Never have in my life, ever. I've only ever done live food. I educate people about whole brain functioning, and if anybody cares to educate others about the work that I am doing, I do live food. Not raw food, not living food, and I don't want my work to be put underneath it either. I don't want to come underneath anyone's umbrella like I did in New York for a little while under Mark Becker's little messed up system he has with his little show. He screwed us over, you know, and his little panel of his nutrition panel, you know. I wish the people would listen to the very last show I did with him. You know, Brian, what's his name? From Florida. Cummins. No, what's his name? Brian someone or other. From Brian someone. He's one of the leaders in the movement. I'm not sure what his name is, but he sort of does Hippocrates or something, you know. But he called me a devil at that show. It was so funny. Why did he call me a devil? He called me a devil because I said everyone leaves these programs, not mentioning his, but leaves all these programs with their bile stones intact. And at that point, he was just having everybody chow down on carrot juice. Woo-hoo! It was so lovely. They got rid of the carrot juice, but he had to call me a devil, you know what I mean? People could listen to that show. That was pretty amazing. That was the very last show that I did in New York under that idiot Mark Becker. Brian Clemens. Brian Clemens is his name, is that other bloke. Listen to him call me a devil. It's so beautiful. But why would he want to call me a devil, eh? Yeah, he wants to call me a devil because that program, he's committing fraud, right? And every one of those people that come through the program, they still have their bile stones intact. Why not have a conversation? Why not put these things out to talk about? You know, I think a person themselves can, their energy, they could be a beingness of pristine like the sky, though their behaviour might not be. But I think people care about reality, and then nobody just wants others just to agree for the sake of agreeing, all right? And then I can't do that. I'm one person who can't do it. If you really want to have a good debate, then let's have a great debate. Let's have a good debate. Let's put things out there to be discussed, all right? But let's not shut people down as he did, just to call me a devil and then go and say that I called some woman down there fat. I never called a woman fat, but because I said there was a woman down there that has a program and she's fat as hell. But I didn't just say that. I just said, if somebody's fat and they think they're knowing everything, why aren't they hearing their own selves? That's all I said. People could catch their own ongoing experience, the meaning for themselves. My mic gets high, and sorry about that. Have you been able to hear me during the program today?
Yes, Dr. Jubb, I think it's so amazing to have you to be able to say these things because, you know, in the past I may have been agreeing just for the sake of agreeing, but I really would want somebody like you to tell it how it is just so we all could understand this.
Well, I just don't agree, and I'm really, really happy I don't agree. I feel so happy I don't agree, all right? I don't agree with this country's mess, okay? And I don't agree with the country's politics either, all right? And I definitely don't agree with the pigs in New York, mate, that run the child welfare system. The pigs! And I'm glad about it, okay? I'm so happy about it. I think Alex Jones does a really nice job. People do need to be woken up. The only thing is he needs to just stick with the message that we need to own the growth of our own money supply. Thank you. Not anybody else. And why would you want to talk about anything else? So that's all. But he does a good job, I think, on this level. It's very nice, you know. And Julian Assange and WikiLeaks are very good, you know. And it isn't it amazing how the Swedish government and the British government, which is really not a government but part of the bank, have done everything they can to rail on Julian Assange, who's such a beautiful man. I'm glad for him. And I think that the Swedes and their system sucks. And of course, this political system sucks big time too, and the economic system does too, you know. But it could be better. We could own the growth of the money. And then we would have a republic and a democracy. Okay? But otherwise, your conversation is just like at the bottom of the cockie's cage. And you're not talking to any bird in any cage. You understand? Good. I like to go somewhere where somebody makes sense to me. I really care very much to listen to others who really have some integrity behind what they're saying, all right? And I really care to speak truth. And that's important to me. And I need practice. And if nobody was listening, good. I need practice to speak the truth. And that's very important, all right? I'm fed up with people saying to me, oh, we don't want to hear about the bank. You just talk about food. We only want to have food body consciousness. It's like, oh, God, bloody helpers, excuse me. Get out of your body consciousness for God's sake. Start talking about things beyond food, you moron. Why the friggin' hell are you just always talking about food? Isn't there anything else you can talk about? Let's get on with things. Are you there, Lukey?
Yeah, it's about to cut you off, Doc, but
yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, anyway, I love you, mate. Listen.
About to cut you off, Doc, but
yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, anyway, I love you, mate. Listen.
About to cut you off, Doc, but
yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, anyway, I love you, mate. Listen.
About to cut you off, Doc.